Let's go. It's the Whitey Show. Whitey Show. Whitey Show. Whitey Show. Whitey Show. So, today, guys, we're going to be reviewing Monster Hunter World and Iceborn. We're going to put it together because they've both been out a while, and we figured this is a co-op game, and why not do a co-op review? Because Robbie and I have played through all of this so much. I forgot how many hours, maybe 100.
I would say, I want to say at least 200, because like when I looked at my character, I think when we stopped playing last year, I had like 260 hours.
Yeah, I think you were 200. I was like 180. And the reason why this game was such a big thing is we played it so much right before my daughter was born, World, and then we played Iceborn in between when I could. But we wanted to talk about today because it's a game that we spend so many hours on, and why you guys maybe should pick it up, and why I think it might be one of the best co-op games I think I've ever played.
So Monster Hunter World, as far as its story goes, it's not something that I paid a whole lot of attention to, other than I know that you are this mute hunter and you are tasked to go on and basically help regulate the population of large predators in the area, to keep the world kind of in balance. I didn't pay attention to the story that much, but for what it was, I think the biggest thing is, there's some funny voice acting, because it is a Capcom and Japanese game, so it has very much like, we gotta get these people. But yeah, no, for the story, for what it was, I think it was fine. It's nothing I really paid a whole lot of attention to. For me, it really came down to the gameplay, and also just I think the marvel of the monsters and the graphical detail, and particularly the music.
Yeah, I'd say the story's the weakest part, and I'll get to a little bit more later of why it might have been not too great. But there's a lot to love about Monster Hunter, so I want to cover that first. I think this is the best part of the game. One of the best things of the game, in my opinion, is the scope of this game. I think there's a lot of games out there that are similar to this now, but back in the day, Monster Hunter was very original. You hunted a big-ass monster, but it wasn't as big as they are now. I think games like Lost Planet and things kind of push the boundaries of how big you can go, and Monster Hunter really throws it out there where you can fight monsters that are 10 times, 20 times the size of you, and you can still win a battle. And that's pretty amazing. As you can probably see in the footage I'm showing, you can fight monsters that are maybe the T-Rex size to monsters that are like Godzilla size. And that's pretty awesome. Another really cool feature I enjoyed a lot was the fact that you can actually see multiple monsters fight each other. They're territorial, so if one monster, you probably know the names better than I do, come into their zone, they start fighting, and you can just sit back and be like, whoa, they're gonna kill each other, or they'll do finisher moves on each other, and the other one will just run the fuck away. So stuff like that really made it interactive of watching the monsters live and fight each other.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I think the turf wars were definitely like one of the coolest things.
Yeah.
Because that was a new addition to the series in general, as I thought. But it was just, I remember like there was so many badass moments where we would be on a quest fighting a monster, and then all of a sudden another one would just come in, and then we would see that thing pop up on our screen, turf war, and we would just stand back and watch it because like they were so well animated, they were so incredible. They would start off with that standoff where they would both roar and shriek. It feels very epic, and I really enjoyed that. Like just the scale of that, as you said, is incredible and something that I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, and I would say one of the big features I was talking about, why this game I think stuck with me so long, is because I love Monster Hunter. There's always been a feature in it, but the co-op in this game is so smooth. You could simply just jump into your friend's game. Their friend opens up their game, you jump right in, and you start killing monsters. I think it's one of the biggest pluses in the game. And with the joining, you can either shoot up like like a spray or some type of flare, and they can just join, or they can join beforehand. So you get prepared, you can eat, get your stats up, all of that. So it's really easy to join and a lot of fun. There is a negative to that, which I'm just going to mention now so we don't forget. In the game, you cannot join your friend's co-op game if you're doing a story mission and they haven't seen the cutscene yet. If you haven't seen the cutscene, you have to wait to see it before you can let them join your game. It is probably the dumbest fucking feature. I don't know why
It's
you
not even
can't
a
just,
feature. It's like, yeah, it's something you're handcuffed by.
yeah, like why can't you just rewatch the fucking cutscene? Like what? Since when has that been a thing that you can't do in video games?
Or
And
design, please.
they didn't even fix it in Iceborn. They kept it going. Like it was a common complaint, and then they said, you know what, we're doubling down. Now you do it again. And so that's one thing I just don't understand about co-op. But besides that, the co-op is super easy to play and super easy to join.
Yeah, and performance-wise, I think we barely had any issues where we would drop out or anything like that.
Yeah, once in a blue moon, and even if you do drop out, you can actually still finish the hunt. You just have to do it by yourself, and each person has their own hunt. So that's kind of cool. It's not like you going 25 minutes, you drop out, and then you don't get to get the material. You can still kill that monster and get the material. You just don't have the person with you. So that's pretty cool. So let's talk about the combat. The combat is definitely, to me, the most refined in the series. It's a bit more streamlined, but I also think it helps make it easy to join in. Simple things like you can take potions while moving. That's something that wasn't in previous games. The feel of multiple different weapons, from long swords to sword and shield to dual wielding. I think it's an easy transition, but it makes it where it's complicated enough where you have to learn each class to master it. I've only done about 3 classes in the game, but I enjoyed each one. They all felt pretty different. I eventually stuck with sword and shield, but I really like dual wielding and longsword. But Robbie here has played quite a few classes, and I think that helped you play 200 plus hours because you can switch so easily, and each class has their own armor and weapons and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. What I play is I did play Sword and Shield like you. I did enjoy it, but I guess the reason I didn't stick with it too much is because that was your main class. I did really enjoy the longsword as well. I think just the feel of that felt really nice and badass. But I would probably say the 2 weapons I used the most. Well, I want to say 3 because what I used the most in the beginning was the bow. That was like my main weapon, and that was what I was most successful with. But the 2 that I kind of started gravitating towards, as far like I would use the bow if I knew there was we were going to be fighting a monster that I should not be in close with. But if it was a monster that I know wasn't very mobile, wasn't very fast, one that I was able to get some big hits on because it didn't move very quickly, I would usually either go with the switch axe or the charge blade. The switch axe is relatively simple to learn. It's not overly complicated. The charge blade, on the other hand, is a little more difficult to learn. But I really enjoyed the challenge of that. I enjoyed the curve with learning it, and the charge blade probably soon became my favorite weapon in the game. And not just that, but I don't know if we discussed this yet, but just some of the designs on some of the weapons, for the monsters are absolutely incredible. I feel like there's a lot of creativity. They're all very colorful. They all just look really well. And that's something I really enjoyed in regards to just the weapons. But yeah, I would say the charge blade was probably my favorite weapon that I used. And then the bow would usually be my secondary for monsters that were more quick, or if I need to fight them at a range.
Yeah, and I also add on to that, you say that the monsters are really cool designs and stuff. I have to say one thing I really like is each monster pretty much felt pretty different. Even monsters with similar designs, the way they reacted or the way they fought felt different. And what was really cool is that, say you fought a monster that kind of looks similar to the other, they could fight similar, and then all of a sudden they do a move where you're just, what the fuck, shoot lightning out of their mouth or fire, and you're like, this monster didn't do that before, and it's like the evolution of that monster. So it's kind of a cheaper way for Capcom to make extra monsters is make them blue.
Yeah,
But the fact that they changed how you have to fight it is interesting because they could have just repainted it and gave it extra health or something. But instead they repainted it and then gave it extra moves, so you have to adjust your fighting style. So that's, to me, is pretty cool. It's a little bit of a cheaper way, but I'd say there's so many monsters in this game. They give a really good amount, especially because they add a lot of monsters for free as the game goes on. That really you're spending $60 on World, if not anymore, but when you bought it, and then $60 on Iceborn, or maybe 40 it was.
I think it was 40.
So $100, and really you get so much content. In terms of monsters, locations, and gameplay, and they give you hunts every week, like special hunts to fight like 4 or 5 monsters at once. Things like that to me is
Arena
great.
battles.
arena battles, a lot of new armor, events like fighting Behemoth, whatever his name is from Final Fantasy. Um,
Yeah.
so many cool things. So really cool. And a thing that leads right into that is collecting pieces of material. So you have to collect pieces of material to build armor or weapons in this game. That's something that's been in Monster Hunter forever. But in this game, I felt it was a little bit more streamlined. They give you actually more material, it feels like, in each hunt. And then you can add on that if you eat like special food before battle and stuff. Or do really good on the quest. And I really like that. So if you break off like a piece of armor or a piece of section, you have a better chance of getting that material to build that weapon or armor. It's pretty easy. I think we only grinded a few monsters in this game because what they smartly do is give you new monsters that give you better stats anyway. So you're not going to spend too long getting one piece of armor unless you just want to complete the whole set, or if you just want to grind, which some people love to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we had a fantastic time. Yeah, just like the variety of monsters that we fought, and just how each of them feels so different, and almost like each of them have like their own type of personality.
Yeah.
Um, I just really enjoyed, yeah, the not only the monsters themselves, but yeah, even in Iceborne, whenever they have the variations, like the Viper Tobikadachi, and the Ebony Odogaron, and the I think the Nightshade Paolumu. Just stuff of that nature. I thought it was really cool. And then Iceborne, like they bring back some fan favorites, like Nargacuga, because I know he was very beloved in the past games. But yeah, there's so many. I can think about so many monsters from this game where like I remember fighting them and just like how much of a good time that I had. And like you said, there's not a whole lot of grinding when it comes to trying to make that new weapon that you want or that piece of armor that you want. The only thing is they will have some rare materials from monsters. So like for example, when you're for the Rathalos or Rathian, like to get their plates, a Rathian plate or Rathalos plate, that can take yeah, or a thing that can take a little bit longer, and that can be like something that you would have to fight them a couple times to get, or there's usually a quest. I think that you would be able to do that where you were guaranteed a piece or like a higher drop rate.
Yeah.
And then of course you also have the vouchers where if you are to if you either kill a monster or capture it, I think you get twice the amount of materials, which was also very helpful. On the other hand, if you die and you wipe and both of you fail or just yourself fail if you're playing solo, you lose that voucher.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you kind of have to play the odds of like, do I think I'll be able to do this? And if I do, then I should probably use a voucher if I'm trying to grind for a weapon or a piece of armor. But yeah, I think another thing I'd like to mention as well, because we haven't got to it yet, was the music. I think the music in this game is simply outstanding. It just has like a very epic feel. It's very orchestral. It's definitely one of the highlights for the game for me because there's a lot of music cues and everything that happen whenever you encounter a monster, and even just the first attack. Like the orchestra will just kind of start up for probably like 15 seconds or so, and then kind of quiet down and level out, and then start to build up throughout the fight in this crescendo. And it feels very cinematic. It feels good. It sounds good, and that's something I really enjoyed about the game was the music, because I take notice in great music in games, and when it's used very well and precisely in a game like this, that's something that I really enjoy.
Yeah, and it gets you kind of scared when you hear music. You're like, oh fuck, I know that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, each of them have their own theme songs too, which is also really cool.
Yeah. And the music definitely an added feature that well, not added, it's in other games, but this is definitely the most grand I've heard in Monster Hunter. Now the last thing I want to kind of talk about that's good is Iceborne. Iceborne was an add-on or expansion, quite a huge expansion, whole new area, all new
base
monsters.
Game was huge.
Yeah, I mean, we spent an extra like 30-40 hours. One of the cool new things that they added was the clutch claw, which you can basically attach them to the monster and like swing onto their face and like fucking stab them in the eye and like fucking die. It was great. It was great. I love that shit. And you can also kind of direct them to like fucking smash into a wall and they go, oh, and then you just beat the shit out of them. So stuff like that I thought was excellent. It added a new level to fighting. And it didn't feel too cheap because you couldn't just do that all the time. It was kind of only like every like
It
5 minutes.
drains the hell out of your stamina.
And that too, yeah. You can't just like attach and be like, all right, guys, you're good. I'm just gonna stay on the back here. But I really like the Clutch Claw. The areas in Iceborne are awesome. It's gloomy, it's dark, but some areas are beautiful and lit up. So it's kind of nice balance. And like you said, there's kind of variants to the older monsters in World, but they're new enough that I liked it. Especially the what's his name? Ajar, the original dinosaur that looked like a T-Rex.
Oh yeah. So the new one in Ice World is the acidic. No, I think that's the Glavenus. I'm sorry. The no, the new one is the
electric
the
blue
full. I think it's the Fulgur Anjanath. You're talking about the T-Rex, right? Yeah.
This guy came in. And I'm like, all right, I got you. I know how you fight, and then he shot a lightning bolt at me, and I was like, okay, I don't know how you fight. So stuff like that I thought was great. So Iceborne is to me is like a must own if you buy World. It's the added feature. The Clutch Claw will make fights more fun. Plus the monsters. I mean, if you haven't played Monster Hunter World at all, if you buy World and Iceborne, you're talking hundreds of hours of gameplay. No joke. And so
hundreds. Yeah, especially if you're a huge Monster Hunter fan.
Yeah, I mean, Iceborne definitely added feature or added expansion that felt like an expansion. So I really enjoyed Iceborne too for the 30, 40 hours we played.
No, I agree. I think Iceborne was a proper expansion. I think it's something they put out, and you know, I mean, because we were heavily into it whenever it was coming out.
Oh God.
So we were like so excited for it. The biggest thing about Iceborne, which, you know, if you're a Monster Hunter fan, you already know this, but for the people that are potentially watching this review and thinking about jumping into World, Iceborne is an in-game expansion. It is not easy by any means. Iceborne is definitely the most challenging part if you own Iceborne and World. Yes. Like, you know, World definitely had some challenging, you know, monsters that you would fight, especially when you get towards the end of the game when you're fighting the Elder Dragons, or the, I guess, ones like Megigante. But yeah, Iceborne is most definitely an in-game expansion. It requires a lot of, you know, skill to fight these monsters because some of these motherfuckers are hitting you and taking off half your health bar.
One hit.
Like particularly when you're fighting the Barioth, you know, the saber-tooth motherfucker.
I hate that fucker.
He's incredibly quick, and the motherfucker hits like a truck.
Yep.
So you definitely have to like be on your shit. You have to be on your P's and Q's whenever you're fighting the monsters in Iceborne. There's definitely some easier ones in Iceborne that are a little bit, you know, easier to fight. But yeah, for the most part, Iceborne is a in-game expansion, and it is not for the faint of heart by any means.
Yeah, the added challenge definitely is a positive to me in terms of the game. It doesn't feel cheap. It just feels like, oh, you're going to have to be on your toes. So that's a lot of great stuff about Monster Hunter. I mentioned some of the negative as we did. The whole cutscene thing is really annoying. I also think, like you said, the story, as you were saying, is forgettable at best. I don't even want to say it's the voice acting. I feel it's the script. The voice acting's fine. No one sounds horrible. It sounds like they have to.
No, I didn't mean it was horrible. It's very much like Japanese.
You know, the voice actor.
Like,
what does it say? Oh, go kill him. Okay, go kill him. Like, you know, like there wasn't much story, and it is Capcom, so I think it's very tongue in cheek. I think they know the story's goofy, and you don't expect much. What did that girl always say when you come back from the hunt? It fucking drove me crazy.
I was just thinking about her, the handler, yeah.
What did she say?
I just remember when you'd go up and, you'd see her, you'd try to go past and be like, hey there!
Hey there! Oh, man. She drove me crazy, though she was pretty hot.
Hey, partner! That's what it was.
Hey, partner.
Hey, partner!
Fucking hey, partner. Hey,
partner!
Hey, partner! But, yeah, so I didn't love the story, and some of the armor and weapons are awesome, and then some not so much. They kind of look really plain, or like you're upgrading from a really cool weapon. It looks kind of like the same. Why did I spend so much time on? But yeah, so besides those things, I think Monster Hunter is pretty much a phenomenal experience. I really have very little bad to say about World. I really like the whole series in general, but I think World might be my favorite. And I think, honestly, it is top 5 co-op experiences I've ever played. And I played quite a few games in my time. So, yeah, I think I'll give my score and I'll let Robbie kind of round up his. I think I'm going to give Monster Hunter World and Iceborne combined a 9 out of 10. I really think it's an amazing experience. I believe it's still on Gamer Pass, or maybe not.
It
Uh,
is not. It's on sale right now though for 15. I think Iceborne's on sale.
oh, well, I mean, come on, guys. Go buy it. This game is definitely worth the $15, even $30. Even if you pay $40, I would have paid $40. I paid 60 for it and I enjoyed it.
I
So,
paid 40.
yeah, I give it 9 out of 10. I think it's an amazing game.
I could not agree with you more. I pretty much echo everything you said. You know, it's definitely in my top 5, you know, all-time co-op experiences, without a doubt. I think it's definitely worth, you know, a full price game. I think it's definitely worth it. And if you even get it at 15, I think that's nearly a steal. Especially if this is intriguing to you. The biggest thing though about Monster Hunter that I would like to point out for anyone who doesn't even know about Monster Hunter is that, you know, Monster Hunter very much has like a learning curve. You know, so I've had, one of my other good friends, you know, he tried it, he just could not get into it. He never played a Monster Hunter game. He couldn't understand the mechanics, like he couldn't understand the weapons or how the combat worked. So there's definitely like a learning curve if you're coming in new. I had some knowledge of Monster Hunter prior, so I kind of knew a little bit. But when I stuck with it, you do the tutorials and everything. You start off small, and you can eventually, you know, form into like, you know, a master of the combat. Um, but yeah, I would absolutely say that this is worth the $60, and if you get for, you know, 15, that is most definitely a steal. Iceborne is on sale all the time on the PlayStation Store, Microsoft Store, so you can pick that up as well. They usually have a bundle. I think they have a bundle now for 40. But yeah, it's easily, absolutely, incredibly worth it. Incredibly worth it. Like I put 260 hours into my main character, and then I put 40 into another character. Like I think overall I put like over 300 hours into the game, and I still want to play more. And doing this review makes me want to go back and play it.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking that too. I want to go kill some more monsters.
Yeah, it's just it's a fantastic game. It's a fantastic experience. You know, there's definitely, you know, it's not a perfect game by any means, but it has so much charm. It has so much. It's a very cinematic game, and it's something that I really loved and really enjoyed. And you know, if I had to give, you know, Monster Hunter World with Iceborne, you know, review, it would most certainly be 9 out of 10. And I think it is absolutely a must buy. But again, you know, proceed with caution, because if you've never played a Monster Hunter game, you're probably going to struggle to learn this. But as Monster Hunter fans like ourselves that, you know, have played a few games in the series, they made a lot of quality of life improvements to this one, like being able to walk and use a potion or a berry or whatnot. And they even added mounting to where, like, you know, you're able to your mount's able to track a monster, and you're able to sharpen your weapon or drink a potion or do whatever you need to do.
Fast travel and
fast traveling. Before you're able to get to the next round, so you're able to do all that stuff on your mount. But yeah, there's a lot of quality of life improvements that I noticed in this one, and also there's no loading between zones. Yeah. It's one big open area.
That is nice.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and you know, I can't say enough good things about World. I enjoyed, you know, my time with it, our time with it, incredibly much, and yeah, I would say it's most certainly a 9 out of 10 for me, and a must buy, and Iceborne as well.
Yes, I would get both if you could, or start out with World and then get Iceborne if you need to, but definitely try World. So yeah, that wraps it up. We definitely want to do this co-op because we both experienced it at the same time, and something unique in the game where you get to play it together. But if you played Monster Hunter World or Iceborne or both, put what you thought of it below. Maybe it wasn't for you. Maybe you love it as much as us. Maybe you have 1,000 hours. Who knows? If you've never played Monster Hunter, leave it below. If you wanted to try it out, we can give you suggestion. But like we both said, it's on sale right now on the Microsoft Store, probably PlayStation Store. They usually follow each other. And then check it out. And hope you enjoyed the review. And we will be back for more videos soon.
We are the real monsters.
I always forget how to shut off the recording. It's so different than when I'm doing share screen.